Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
So okay. So then I added some brown sugar, not a lot, probably maybe a quarter cup of brown sugar, half a cup of brown sugar, packed. Added that in there, and the one thing I did change on this one is I added apple cider vinegar, and
Okay.
I added about 4 or 5 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and it turned out incredible. It was awesome. Should we do this again, or is it? Are we? Have we always been going live? Are
No,
we still live or?
no, you're good. Yeah, no, it wasn't pushing to YouTube, so it recorded it all, so
Oh,
I have it for reposting. But we're live now.
oh, oh, perfect. Yeah. And so, yeah, so the bacon just came out incredible. So if you're just catching it now, you just happen to log in now, we're talking about I did some bacon, which was just came out phenomenal. And it's a more of a savory bacon. So when you rinse it all off, that rosemary and the thyme and the garlic really penetrated that meat with the salt and just sucked it all in. And I like that. It goes really, really well. If you're doing like a BLT sandwich, and you have the tomato and you have the mayo and the lettuce and then that bacon. I use a thick slab bacon with that rosemary and that garlic. Just really ties it together on a homemade sourdough. Oh, forget about it. It's just really, really good.
There you go.
Yeah, and so I highly recommend making your own bacon. It's what 250 a pound for pork belly, and then what I spent on herbs. Well, heck, I have my herb garden, right? So that was free. But if you went to go, you go to an Asian market, they have a lot of rosemary, just bunches, really cheap. You don't have to go to the supermarket. Go to the Asian markets where they use a lot of garlic, peeled garlic, cloves, and you just get like a whole container of garlic cloves, a lot of rosemary, a lot of thyme. And the Asian stores are great because they go through high turn, and so you always get fresh herbs. Add that to your food processor, like I
Okay.
said. Yeah, and that's a pro trick right there. Go to a place that's where a lot of immigrants, they use a lot of people, like just do a lot of cooking, and they go through a high turn. So always getting fresh herbs. Where if you go to a big bulk grocery store, you probably won't see that, and you'll spend a lot more money.
Yeah.
And so you spend more and get less on quality. And so, but yeah, I was excited about that on my bacon. So I got that smoked off on hickory. I did a rack of ribs, and the rack of ribs I used. Remember, I was told you I was going to do a whole hog. So I bought a
Yeah.
big old container of this seasoning for whole hog seasoning. It's a little spicy, and so I just tried that out on the ribs,
Okay.
and then I spritzed it with the pineapple mango uh, juice.
Ooh.
And so
Okay.
I owe my wife a spritz bottle because I took her water bottle out and I killed it, and I put mango and pineapple. So she just got home. She doesn't realize I killed her bottle, but anyhow, but I was spritzing with
He's
mango
like,
pineapple.
ooh.
Yeah, yeah, to give a little sweetness to it.
That's
And it was
funny.
all, there's no sugar in that, but it turned out really, really good. But when I wrapped it, and this will lead up to our bark question when we talk about briskets, when we're getting to, I make my own homemade butter. So I add my homemade butter to it. But when I wrapped them and put it back on at 250, it was steaming the heck out of the ribs because a lot of the water in the butter, just butter in general has a lot of water to it, has water to it. And end up steaming ribs. And I just don't like steamed ribs. But what I did was I glazed it with my homemade barbecue sauce and I put it under the broiler for 2 or 3 minutes and it crisped it right up, which was nice. I didn't burn it, but yeah, it was nice. But that's what I did. That was my cook this weekend for barbecue. It was nice. Yeah, and ask questions, guys. If you're in here, ask questions. Or if you're in here listening, do we have anybody logged in right now, watching?
We had one person pop in and then popped out. I just posted on Instagram, so we'll see.
All
But I do
right.
think we chatted about this before we went live. The whole like how to get a good bark. Because
Yeah,
I think we both used butter on ribs, but that kind of steams them a little bit. I think we both noticed that.
yeah,
So like if you want to get a good bark on a brisket, ribs, what else do you? I mean, pork butt I feel like is easier, but like I feel like those two maybe. How do you get a
yeah.
good bark on those? What do you use?
Well, I guess when it comes to good bark on brisket, you go past the stall, and as you're cooking your brisket, you see at 165, 170, when you get a brisket, it starts puddling up on top of the brisket. A lot of that fat's rendering on top. I don't wrap it yet. I wrap it just right when that stall is done and when it's not puddling up anymore. And there's no more, because when you wrap it, it's
Like
still
when
going to
the
puddle
liquid's
up.
gone or when it stops cooling?
When it stops pooling, I guess when the liquid's gone, then I wrap it. And some people that's the time
Liquid's gone.
people add tallow. Yeah, you can add tallow because you said earlier tallow it doesn't have any water in it whatsoever. It's a solid fat, which is fine. But you
Hmm.
don't want to wrap it. You don't want to wrap your brisket too early because that will hurt your bark. And so, you know,
Yeah.
yeah. And again, I'm looking for. What the one thing I noticed, Zach, going back real quick on my ribs, I did a heavy smoke on those
Yeah.
ribs with my Weber's Searwood, and I used the 180. So I just did the um, smoke plus, or what do they call that on the Weber when you do it 180 smoke plus or
S-
smoke boost?
I think it's called Super Smoke or Smoke
Yeah.
Boost. Okay.
Do you know I couldn't I didn't have a smoke ring on my ribs at all. I didn't have a smoke ring.
Really?
I wonder it's because I was cooking on hickory as well. And I never seen that before, but I
Oh,
never had,
okay. I was gonna say I
and
always get a really good.
right. And I always do as well. But that's the first time I noticed that when I was cutting the ribs. I'm like, I don't have a smoke ring. Like, holy crap. And I had a really good smoke boost on that. It was really infusing with smoke. And I'm going to try it again with ribs, but this time I'm going to use oak on the Weber. I should have used the offset, but I got lazy because it was misting up and it was a little cloudy and rainy a little bit here. So I used the Easy Bake, and I thought for sure I was going to get a smoke ring. No smoke ring on the
Okay.
ribs, but it still came out great though. The flavor was great. It was there, but the hickory is not as pungent as the oak. And but again, I keep the hickory to the bacon
Okay.
on the pork belly, and then everything else I switch out my. That's one thing I also love about the Weber is you can change out the pellets pretty quickly. And there's a protective grate that goes on top. They can't, that you pour your
Hmm.
pellets in.
Got the
I
little
took that out.
pool at the bottom.
I took that out. I took that protective grate out. They put that so your hands can't get in it because there's an auger in there somewhere. But but I took
Hmm.
that out so
Yeah.
that way when I do dump my pellets out, I can put my hand in there and just scoop all the pellets out real fast, and then close the cover and then
Just like,
dump in new pellets. Yeah. So I like that. I like taking out that
you know.
safety feature. Yeah. So anyhow, but I would, for this
Yeah.
conversation, you do you,
Well,
right? If you want
on
to take
that,
off that safety feature, go for it.
yeah.
What are you gonna
I was
say?
saying that is interesting. That like, I mean, we there's so many facets to getting good barbecue. Wood is one of them, but I never thought about not getting a smoke ring because all the pellets I've ever used have gotten a good smoke ring on the Weber. Um, but that's wild. Here we use the only local place I can find they have walnut wood is what I use.
Huh. Okay.
Um, so that's been a little bit different. I can get the Weber pellets for a reasonable price, but anything else is just kind of crazy to get here. Um, so,
What about the
but
Kirkland?
I was
The
gonna say
Kirkland
for a
pellets.
good, I don't have them here. Kirkland, if
You
so,
have
if you're in the
you have the
states and you
Costco.
want a super cheap pellet, then yeah, they don't. We don't have the pellets here at Costco because
Oh,
they don't have
I like.
pellet smokers
Yeah.
down here.
Oh, there you go. I like it. Good. I like good for them. Mexico's smart. They're not lazy. Like us Americans, lazy
Use actual
Americans, like the
wood.
pellets use actual wood, like Chaz the Pitmaster.
Actual.
Um, no, but walnut wood is
Uh,
good. I never cooked on walnut wood before, but Bear Mountain, if you're in the U.S., that's cheap and that's a good
yeah,
quality pellet. Yeah, but that's what I
yeah,
use. I use Bear
they're one of the
Mountain.
best. I was gonna say for so I mean we were talking about getting a good bark. I think pellets matter a little bit.
Yeah,
The best bark I got was that Plumond by Naughty Woods.
yeah,
It puts off more ash, so you get kind of a more authentic wood smoking kind of experience. The flavor isn't quite as good as Bear Mountain, in my opinion. But if you want a good bark, swap over to maybe the Naughty Wood if you're not getting a decent bark. But then there's a few things like the one. I mean, you said go past the stall. I'm trying to think when I would do briskets. It's just a temp for me. I don't ever pay attention to the pooling, which I think this next one I'll have to do that. But it's usually at 170. I pull it off. I put tallow on it, but I do wrap in butcher paper, which is a little more breathable because my bark was getting a little steamed with the aluminum foil. So maybe because I don't pay attention to the pooling, the aluminum foil was holding that in and steaming it, and so maybe the butcher paper is a little more forgiving on when you wrap it. I don't know what your
fair.
experience is with that, but
No, that's fair. I didn't think about that. But I go back to when I cook a brisket again. I really don't. I don't look at temps. I don't. I look at 6, 7 hours of smoke. That's what I'm looking. When I do my offset, I'm looking at 6, 7 hours of smoke. I after 7 hours of a good smoke on it, it's clean smoke. Sometimes get a little greedy, 7.5. I don't want too smoky, maybe 8. Then I'll wrap it. But then I'm looking for that puddle, looking for that stall. I'll probe it to see what it is anyway, just to see what it's like. Okay, it's 165, 170, great. It's in that stall.
Yeah.
Then I'll wrap it, and then I probe, and then I'll stick a meter in there. I'm not like Clay; it snows everything by feet. He goes thousands of them time, but and by feel. But I'll put a meter in there, and then I take it off at 203, and
Okay.
so that's what I do there. And so
Do you always take it off at 203?
I do. I do take it off at
Okay.
203, and then I let it rest. And so I got a Cambo box or put it in a cooler, and I just drop it in a cooler and let it sit there for 3, 4 hours. And it go up to 4 hours. I'm not gonna eat it right away, but I can take it off in a Cambo box. You can probably keep it up there for 4 or 5 hours right before you're gonna pull it out. It's still gonna be warm, still gonna be good. And again, you're bringing it down. It's gonna have a little carryover, and you're just breaking that down and then just kind of pull it in. So I got to do a smoke. I got to do a this weekend coming up. We have Seafest, and this is where the Blue Angels come out. And I got a friend out on the water. He lives in Mercer Island, right on the water. Guy, just a beautiful home. He's got a boat, and he invites all his family out there and some friends. And he's always been treating me nice since I moved out here for the last year. And actually, it was 1 year ago this weekend is when I actually moved out here because
Oh
tomorrow
wow.
will be my 1 year anniversary. Yeah, so I started,
Oh,
and yeah, it's been 1 year here now, and it was Seafest, and I went over there. I just moved here. I was living in a hotel before Lindsay and the family came out, and the family, the dog, and and so he invited me out there, and his whole family, big. His wife is Colombian, beautiful family, big family, and they had the best food. I'm not joking, but they had this pork belly that they made, this chicharron. Zach, it
mm,
was probably the best snack I ever had. Three ingredients: it's pork, salt, and lime. That's it. But the way they did it was just unique. And I might have had too many cervezas and bourbons, and so I was trying, and I was getting distracted. So I did not see how they made it. But this year, I'm not drinking. I really just stopped my drinking. I really changed a lot since I've been out here. But this time I'm going to remember and I'm going to see how they do it. And we'll talk about that. And I'm going to do a video on that because I think it's worth doing because it is the best snack and it's a great thing to bring to any party. And again, if you're drinking beer, it's a great thing to have anyway. But, uh, but so anyway, I'm going to do a brisket. I'm going to do some pork belly burn ends. Not really burn ends, right? Just going to smoke some pork
mm-hmm.
belly. I call it smoke some pork
Yep.
belly, glaze them up, make them really
Chop it up.
sweet.
Cobbler
Ch-
princess.
Yeah, exactly. And just make them really, really sweet. I used a apple. I used an apple jelly last time with the pork belly, and that turned out really, really good. I
Oh,
glazed them with apple jelly, and the apple jelly created a really good glaze on it.
okay.
And yep. And so I use apple jelly and a little sugar, and I rendered that on top of the stove, and then I just glazed it with that. I just kind
Okay.
of brushed it
Okay.
on. So I'll do
As I say,
that
we
and
had
a
a.
brisket. Yeah, and beans. I'm gonna do my famous barbecue beans.
Uh, yep.
And if you want to know how to make those beans, go to the Colorado Barbecue Boys. It's in there, step by step on how to make
Still our.
barbecue beans.
Yep. Still our best video, I think, on here. If not the best, like top three for sure.
Hey, it's worth it. And it's funny. We're gonna get more subscribers because everyone in that family. I'm not joking. There's like 20 or 30 of them. Oh, can I have the recipe? Go to Colorado Barbecue Boys. So we're gonna get 20 or 30
Um,
new subscribers, like and subscribes, but also step by
bada
step
bada
on how
bing.
to make those beans. Yeah, there you go. Right. But it's worth it. I got to do some more sausage videos, and I need to do a deep cleaning video on the sear wood. I
Oh,
think it's
Weber.
time now to do a deep clean. Yep.
On it is like I went through so many reviews of smokers, and like I think there's cooler looking smokers for sure, but Weber, I think their first attempt failed so bad that somebody spent the time and money to figure out how to make a better smoker, and it shows. Like it is hands down the best best pellet smoked food I've had of anyone that makes food. And obviously talent and like technique and things like that come into it, but it's really hard to mess up food on the sear wood. Like it really is. Unless you start it on fire, which they also made harder to do. Like it's just so much better.
But you've done it. But you've done it though, so good for you, right? I mean,
Yeah,
challenge accepted. Didn't you?
I pushed the limit.
Well, that's another way how to clean your smoker as well. You can clean your smoker by setting it on
Start on
fire.
fire.
We did that
Turn
on the
it to
big smoker.
500.
Burt Reynolds caught fire, caught a big old grease fire. Remember that? We had a video on that on
Yeah.
what
Oh,
how to clean,
that was
what
bad.
not to do. Yeah, how to clean out your barbecue. But you know what though, Burt Reynolds, that thing was so cleaned after that. It was perfect. I mean, it was so. I had to.
And just catch it on
Yeah.
fire. Good way to clean it.
So anyhow, it just catching on fire, and so but catch it on fire and reseason it and keep going. But yeah, it worked out really really well. And I'm afraid I'm going to do that again one day. We'll figure that out. But I got to clean it out. But yeah. So going back to the bark, um, I think
Hmm.
that if you wait till it pulls, but just wrap it really tight too. That's another thing they say.
Yeah.
If you really want to achieve a good bark, is wrap it really really tight. So use your paper. Fold it the way you do your brisket when you wrap it. Kind of fold it like an American flag. Kind of cross over,
Hmm.
but bring it in really tight and make sure it's just tight. And that's another thing too. You don't want it to steam, but that's another way to achieve a good bark is by wrapping it tight.
Yeah. I'm
But
gonna say when you're using paper, I think the tallow. I mean, tallow for sure makes it more moist, but it also helps the paper to stick to the meat a little bit better, so you have a tighter wrap.
yeah,
Obviously, it's gonna kind of soak up some of that tallow as it goes, but um, I found that paper, at least for me, was more forgiving because you could put that tallow on there, it would stick, stay nice and juicy, and the water would evaporate off. So I'd still have really good bark. And honestly, like the difference between an offset and pellet, with a pellet, you want as much smoke as you can get because you're not gonna. Like it's so hard to over smoke it on a pellet, but for an offset, like I don't know that I would use paper just because I think you'd probably get it over smoked at some point because it's still somewhat going through versus foil. I don't know. You actually have an offset, so you would know, but I feel like you can over smoke it on an offset.
you can over smoke on off. I've over smoked on offsets for sure. I made it too smoky on an offset. There's different types of woods. I used mesquite and I didn't wrap it, and I used mesquite, which is a very pungent, smoke too.
Mm,
And yeah, I when I bit into it, it was too rich. It was like biting into a meat of smoke, smoked meat. It
mm,
was like too smoky. And again, these are the things you learn when you're first starting to barbecue, and then you don't know what to do. And didn't really have grew up in the family that barbecued, or I had a lot of friends that had offsets, so I was just learning on my own. But it
yeah.
was, and we didn't have, we had the internet, but we don't have anything like we have today, right? The Traegers went around, things like that went around. Franklin's barbecue wasn't around. He
Oh,
was cooking, but there was a lot of. It wasn't booming like it was in Austin. We're talking what 30 years ago, 35 years ago. Good barbecue was Dickies, right? I mean, you're looking there's,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. It was like okay, so, um, yeah. But now there's good barbecue everywhere. Everyone's doing barbecue. I think it's great. I make fun of the pellets, but I think the pellet smokers has really brought a lot of people out to do barbecue, which is great. I've bought a lot of home
Yeah.
cookers now. Yeah. And so,
Well,
and a lot
that's
of people
it.
do appreciate.
Just makes
Yeah.
it so easy.
Yeah. And it's funny when people say, oh, Austin's got the best barbecue or Texas got the best barbecue. And like Franklin's, and you go to those places that we've been to, like Snow's, and
Hmm.
you go to Black's, and you go to Smitty's. It's like
Hmm.
because they're all using offsets. They're all using traditional smokers, and it goes back to when we talk about what tastes better. You can really tell a difference on an offset for sure, compared
Yeah.
to a Traeger or a Weber and things like that. Again, it still yields great product. I'm gonna, if I use my pellet, it's gonna do a great brisket. But if I do my offset for this weekend coming up, they're gonna be like, wow, that's a whole different ballgame. That's a whole different level. Oh yeah, it is, because it's just really good. So that's what I
Yeah.
know.
Well, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it took it from people who were just crazy serious about it to the average Joe can do it. That's I sorry, you see that in every industry now where it's like the barriers to entry are getting lower, but the people who really know how to do it well are excelling. So like you're not going to find a pellet smoker at a restaurant, or at least I wouldn't think you're going to. Like, um, it's still you
No.
still want the good smoke for those kinds of things, but like if you just want to have cheap, like we talked about last week, a good rib at your house that doesn't cost $80 per bone, like you can do it.
Yeah. But I think going back to, if you want good bar, the ones that do it really, really well in Texas, they all have offsets. And
Hmm.
you wonder why does everything cost so much? Well, you lose 40% of your weight when it comes to brisket. And price of brisket has gone up. Price of beef has gone way up just because all the cattle had to go to market because of a lot of droughts and things like that. And so it takes what, 4 to 5 years to pull back up your cattle again. And the whole industry is seeing a lot of the dip because of that. And now they're importing more of these that beef from Brazil and things like that. And with the
Yeah.
tariffs and all that, well, I think the administration, not to get too political, but it now is allowing more beef coming into the U.S. because we're just so carnivorous. We're carnivores out here. But
Hmm.
I know baby girl is right, and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, your daughter. So, but but what I'm saying is, it just costs a lot. And so when you go to these places, when you trim the barbecue, we trim the briskets off, when you lose 4 or 5 pounds times 100, 200 briskets, that adds up a lot. And that's why they make sausages and they make things like that. And they have to take all the
Hmm.
trimmings, nothing goes to waste. But at the same time, it's just costs a lot. And so, but going back to the pellet smokers, a lot of restaurants are using pellet smokers. Everywhere we looked in Colorado was
Really?
pellet smokers. Yeah,
I
because they
didn't
use the old
realize that.
hickories. Remember when we're touring Colorado, it was all pellet assist of the old hickories. And so if you're watching
That,
this and
oh,
go to a restaurant,
okay.
now we went to that one restaurant that had the vegan side, that one that we in
Yeah.
Colorado, they actually had an offset pit, which is great. There's
Yep.
a guy over here in Tacoma uses a pit, which is great. But you go because they can't keep the help. I mean, think someone like
Mm,
Franklin's. I mean, people work at Franklin's and they do it just to get the experience, and then they go try to open their own barbecue restaurant. And that's the nature of the beast. That's how Goldie's did it, right?
okay.
Goldie's, the five
Yeah.
guys who worked at Goldie's.
Yeah.
Five guys went to
Yep.
five different top five barbecue restaurants, all in Austin, and they all lived in the same apartment, all lived in the same house. They all every night they
So
take their
wild.
notes. Genius, right? Five friends.
Yeah.
You work at Franklin's. You work at this. You work at Kreitz. You work at Smitty's. You work at blah blah. All these different areas, and they all learned pick the top of the best, and they all came up and came with their own recipes and learned how to do barbecue, right? Salt and pepper, things like that.
Hmm.
But they did that, and people are starting to do that now. But it's hard to keep people. I mean, Franklin has his pits 6 days. It's his pits are going 6 days a week. I think he cleans them. He shuts them down, cleans them once a week. He closes it down and cleans it, and then fires them back up again. But it's a 24/7 machine. Like when you're going there for lunch and you've seen the people
Hmm.
working, cutting the briskets and all that, that's for the next day. I mean, everything is going for the next. I mean, he's prepping at 11 a.m. Uh, for the next day. And I mean, he's putting ribs on. He's got people out there 24/7 watching the pits, watching the fires. He's going through so much wood because he's got 4 or 5 of those big smokers when we were there. We got the tour of the back. I think it was four
Hmm.
back
Yeah.
there that he's doing,
Four
right?
big ones.
Yeah, four big ones. And I think he's got another one downstairs too that he does other stuff with. But yeah, long story short, he's just it's hard to get people sitting there doing the same quality of work that you would do, right? Because it's hard to get somebody who's going to put the same passion, stay up late, and care about.
Hmm.
And again, it comes down to that when you do an offset, it all comes down to that smoke and that fire. You know, it's funny. I saw Franklin's seasoning, his brisket seasoning. I thought it was funny, and people are buying it. I thought it's hilarious because he gives the recipe 50% salt, 50% pepper, and he's selling salt and pepper for like $12 a bottle. And I thought that
Oh
is
my
genius.
gosh.
It's like Tiger Woods,
Those
right?
are
Like,
fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's smart. I'm sitting there going laughing, like he's probably laughing on his way to the bank on that seasoning alone, going, people are just idiots. You can buy a thing of kosher salt for $2, a big old thing of 2.5 pounds
Hmm.
of kosher salt. and cracked pepper at Costco, 50-50, you're done. And I think that's just funny. I just laugh my ass off when I see stuff like that. And
That's
like, good for him.
wild.
Yeah, I'm like, good for him. But yeah, but again, the reason why he does really well and Snows does really really well. Clay, it's all salt and pepper.
Hmm.
Smitty's is salt and pepper. Everywhere you go is salt and pepper. The old school ones are salt and pepper. The newer ones use different spices. But um, but what I was trying to get at is just comes down to the smoke. And then how do you have someone watch the pits and the fires just as well as you can do it, right? Because you're going
Yeah.
to grab the right wood, you're going to look at the fires because it's your cook, it's your brand. And I think Franklin is back there now cooking back there because I think he got away from it, making smokers,
Hmm.
going on tours, selling a lot of merchandise. And when we were there, the first time I had Franklin's, when he was cooking, off the charts. And then when he was overseeing it all. And then when he was out and about, that brisket, that barbecue we had wasn't as good when we were in Austin. But I think it's back up there again because I think he's back cooking. And I'm looking for, I want to go back there again. And if he's cooking, I want to, if he's overseeing it, I want to see how good it is again. But we're not spending
Yeah.
$600 worth of barbecue
Oh
because
my
again,
gosh. Yeah. That was,
we're not drink, well, we're drinking a lot back then too.
that was wild. Well, I was gonna say like it is because you said you always take your briskets off at 203, and I've noticed sometimes, like after we went to Snows, I would try to like do it by feel a little bit more because that was what Clay talked about. And I
Yeah.
actually had some that were done at like 199, 200. And it's like, oh, that's
Yep.
interesting. And then I've had others where like at 203, it was still a little tough. Like I had to leave it on for like 10 or 15 more minutes at 203 to really get, that jiggly like fold that you kind of are looking for. So I thought it was interesting. Like I think that's really how you have such variety when you go to a restaurant. It's like
Yeah.
it's not just as simple as every cut of meat comes off at a certain temp, is wrapped at a certain temp. Like it just, I mean, you've done it so long that you're like, oh no, that one's not quite ready. Like you can
Yeah.
look at it, but a new person or someone who's just kind of doing like McDonald's style, like conveyor belt, like I'm just here to make food and get a paycheck, like they're not gonna notice those subtleties. Also, if you're not eating it, like if you cook it and you eat it, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
this happened, this happened, this happened, and it wasn't as good. So what? Like you're thinking about how do I improve it? And if you're just cooking it, somebody else is eating, you have no idea.
Yeah. You know, it
That's
was if I was to start up a barbecue business, God, there's like every 5 feet, everyone wants to start one in Texas. I'd screw that. I would start one here in Washington.
yeah,
If I had an offset smoker and really knew what I was doing, learned everything from Texas, I would start it up here because there's a lot of foodies up here in Washington. And I
yeah.
say
I
that
feel like you
because
actually do it well there.
we have it's a big Asian Polynesian, but the Asians, they just have, they're foodies too. I mean, everything they make is with flavor, and there's a lot of Indian population here, but there's so much people up here are just more foodies than I thought. In Colorado, it just wasn't as many foodies that they were in Washington that I'm seeing. And in Washington, and Colorado's just not known for their food, but Washington, oh my God. I went to two farmers markets yesterday and a farmers market today. And I went to the one in West Seattle. That was beautiful. West Seattle Farmers Market on Sundays. There's another one on Sundays in Ballard, which is huge. That's a nice one. I mean, great. And I mean, you can get anything from there. It's beautiful produce. But when I went to yesterday, I went to Maple Valley in Washington. If you're following this, you go to Maple Valley. There's a guy out there making barbecue. There was a line, Zach, a line for this
Oh wow.
barbecue, and it was not good. It was not good at all. They didn't know how to trim or cut. They didn't know how to cut the brisket up correctly. The guy was struggling. There was no smoke ring anywhere on the meat. There was no juice. It was
Ooh.
so dry looking. It just looked, and I was like, bless her heart, right? I mean, um, I thought, I was like, can I help you guys? They're like four guys and they're older
Yeah.
gentlemen. And
Yeah.
they kind of like, they act like they knew what they were doing. And, they all had their shirts on, which is great. But I'm sitting there going, oh man, you would be eaten alive if you're in Texas or anywhere else. So if you're listening to this and you're in Texas and want to open a barbecue, I think that's great. And even like on Facebook Marketplace now, you see people selling food. And I don't know if out here, Zach, it's funny, out here in Tacoma, a lot of Asian, mango, and Thai food you can buy. And people make it out of their house and you go to their house and pick it up,
Hmm.
which is pretty cool. I bought this real mango tapioca just down in Tacoma, and bought another mango and sticky rice that was amazing. And there's another lady makes empanadas. But you want to pick a food, but there's a barbecue guy out here again, and his videos just what he's showing, like this is his best barbecue. It didn't look good either. I'm like, God dang, there's no good
Mm,
barbecue out here. And everyone's like, Tony, you have a big smoker. Why don't you just do that? I'm like, because
mhm.
honestly, I don't want to do that. I already have a job and I do it for a living. I just do this for fun. When I have to do it,
Yeah.
oh man. But if I were to do it, I could do it one weekend, do beef ribs,
Mhm.
do really good beef ribs. Again, that's a big bang for the buck. I could sell those for $40 a rib, and cost me 120 for a whole pack. So $40, that's 240 bucks, and it cost me 100 to make it
Mhm.
uh, when I yield it. So that'd be good. I can do a whole thing and just do brisket and beef ribs and sell that. And if I really want to yield more money, I can just do pulled pork, right? And then
Yeah.
do that as well. But anyhow, but yeah, I know I rambled a lot on that, but what I'm trying to say is Washington does not have good barbecue. So if you're a
No.
barbecue guy, open a barbecue restaurant in Washington, and I think you'll do it. There's like a place called Jack's. That's a pellet smoker because he is old hickory.
Okay.
There's another guy over here called Hogsworth or in Tacoma, Warthogs or something like that. That was the one that got us sick. Got the dog sick too. Ethel got
Oh.
sick, the dog. Eating the bar. It was just nasty barbecue. We spent $70 and we ended up throwing it away. It was kind of like Kreitz in Texas in Lockhart.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was bad.
Kreitz is, yeah, I remember how bad Kreitz was. It was just like Kreitz. It's like, God,
Like we give them so much shit, but like I hope that was just a really, really bad day for them because that was really bad. Like,
that was the worst barbecue I think I ever had. Well, outside of the one in Tacoma here. So I'm comparing Lockhart, Texas, Kreitz, who's really famous, to Tacoma barbecue.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Ugh.
But yeah,
Yeah.
man,
No.
I'm really
That was
loving this cigar. This cigar, Olivia. There's the band
Olivia.
right there, Olivia. And I'm digging this cigar.
I
And
say I've liked this one. That's the La Catrina. Um, but it's I don't know that I love this size. You and I were texting back and forth like on favorite sizes. I think like the filler to binder and wrapper ratio really does matter more than like more than I would think it does. Because this is my favorite cigar, but the size that I had was a 5 by 54 or 56 or it was a 6 as a torpedo. It's a 6 inch by 54 or something. This one I feel like it doesn't quite have that like creamy vanilla that the smaller size had. So I don't know what about having more of the filler makes it that way, but um, it's not that quite
yeah,
smooth vanilla like the smaller sizes. So if you have a cigar and you like it, try different sizes of it. Like the flavor really does change more than I would have thought it would.
I like the way the 60 fits in my hand. I like the girth. I like the
The
60
girth.
fits in my hand. Uh, it is kind of a more of a kind of a, as you would say a manly cigar. But I
Mm-hmm.
think the 6 inch is too long, girth and length, just because that's a 2 hour smoke. So I think there's something to be had. I definitely want to get some shorter ones because when I come home from work and my well being, people do yoga,
Mm-hmm.
when I have a cigar, I think the 4.5 inch or a 4 inch by 60 to me is perfect. That's a good,
Yeah.
half hour, 45 minute smoke and you're done. Where this is like an hour and a half smoke. But yeah, but I don't want to put this thing down though. Now it's like, because you said, oh, don't smoke the whole thing. That's not
Mm-hmm. You're like, I
happening, Jack.
wanna.
I'm
I'm
going to
not gonna
go
waste it.
after this video. I'm going to go right into that jacuzzi and just finish off my cigar. That's exactly what I'm going to do.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. It's the weather's out here so nice. It's 70 degrees. It's actually chilly right now. And it's this, I know you have your tank top on. You're probably
Uh,
sweating out there.
I think it's cooled off because it's nighttime, but I think right now our lows are like 76,
Oh,
75.
oh,
Yep,
it's too hot.
75. Right now it's
Oh,
83 with a nice breeze, so it's a little cooler, but it's I mean literally
do,
every single day here for the next 10 days. The high is either between 89 and 91 and the low is 75 to 78. So it's the same every day.
do you have the AC going on in the house?
Mhm.
No, I bet you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yep.
bet. Yeah, that's expensive. Electricity's expensive out there, you're saying. Well,
Yeah. Yeah, that's the
should
one.
we wrap this up? Before we wrap
Let's
up,
grab it.
I
Yeah.
I was in Puyallup Farmers Market yesterday, and I got some ribeyes. Remember, I was telling you on the last podcast, I found that it was Covington beef. There are, and they had a really unique taste to their ribeyes and their beef, and the fat was more
Hmm.
yellowish. It was a yellow fat, which is kind
Yeah.
of grazed a little bit different. And they ate some different grass, but it was more of a yellow fat, which is great. And so I bought some steaks. I bought a porterhouse. I bought a bone and ribeye, and I bought a regular ribeye and a couple pounds of hamburger.
Okay.
So I cooked the ribeye. I was by myself yesterday because Lindsay had a girls or a friend from work had a girls thing on the lake or something like that. And man, that turned out pretty good. And Ethel had a little bit of that too, and she ate it. She ate it all. It was great. But again, support your local, but try it. And I don't support all local beef. Don't get me wrong; it's got to be something unique. And when I see something different,
Mm.
like yellow fat and things like that, and like the Double R
Yeah.
Ranch, I'll support that for sure. And if not, I go to Costco. There you go.
There you go. I
Yeah,
say find a good, like, if you can find a good butcher, um, I feel like that's always the best option. There were a couple of places that I ordered online in the States, but it was mostly because I wanted. There's a couple of places that did. It was like 85% ground beef. I think it was like 8 or 10% liver, and then like a couple percent heart and a couple of percent kidney. I know
yeah,
some people think like that sounds disgusting, but the the organs have vitamins and minerals in them that the muscle meat doesn't. And so I actually did a test with my family, not telling them when I would add it and when I wouldn't. And the times where I wouldn't have just that little bit of organs in there, like, the burgers didn't taste as good today, Dad. I'm like, okay. And then the next time, like, Dad, whatever you did this time, that's it. That's the good burgers. I'm like,
and what
okay.
would you
Like
put in
it.
organ meat? You'd put some organs in
Yep.
there.
Yeah, there's a couple of places in the States you can order. Well, you can get it here. Like, you can tell them whatever you want. They'll grind it up for you. But it was
Yeah,
like, it's like 10% organs and 90% ground beef. So it's just a little bit, like, just for some flavor, because it gets a little weird if you have too much. You and I know that because we had some from the ranch out there. Um,
oh, that flying
but
bee bar. Yeah, I
yeah,
didn't like that at all.
that
Ooh,
was way too much. What I would do with those is I would take one of those and mix it with three regular, so it was only like 10%, and then it looked
yeah,
normal, it formed normal, but it just adds a little bit of like depth of flavor that I can't really figure out any other way to get.
yeah. I'm a big fan of grass fed and then a high grain finish on beef. That's what I'm a big fan of now. Not grass fed and grass finish. I like grass
Yeah,
fed and high grain, not just a shit grain, but a good quality
high quality.
high
There
quality
you go.
grain. And man, and I think wow. And then I might try that. Again, a lot of butchers here they don't break down their own cows too. They don't break down a lot of their beef. What they do is they get a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
pre-packed stuff and they just open it up and they cut it down. Like they'll get the whole ribeye roast and they'll cut the steaks out of that, but they don't cut the ribeye roast. I have not found a butcher
Hmm.
out here that actually breaks down beef like the old when I was a kid at the supermarkets. The
Yeah.
beef would come out by half a cow and there's real butchers. They break everything down. I just haven't found anything. You can buy half a cow and they'll break it down, but I
Mhm.
don't see a brick and mortar store where they actually buy half a cows and break everything down. I don't see that.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, we saw that in quite a few places in Colorado, but I think they do that here. In fact, we saw I took my son to one of the butchers here, and a truck pulled up. I'm like, oh, I wonder what they're doing, and they offloaded like 100 pig carcasses. I was like, oh, okay, they're breaking it down in the back there.
Nice.
So
But that's where they
that
do
was
it, right?
cool.
But
Hmm.
labor is cheap out there, right? Labor's cheap. You go to the big box stores, they're all union. The butchers are union, and it just gets to be really,
Hmm.
really expensive. And so what you do is you
Yeah.
have it done at a processing plant, already prepackaged, and they pull it out. And then they do some slicing and some cutting here at the some grocery stores do, like Costco, they do get the bigger stuff in. They do cut some stuff up in the back, and they do like the plates, right? You buy the whole thing of plates, and then they'll cut the plates in half. They
Hmm.
have bandsaws and they'll cut them in half, and they'll package them and weigh them and things like that. But they're not breaking down cows; they're just breaking down
Yeah.
what came from the processing plant, where it's again, it's just cheaper. But you go to
Hmm.
Mexico, labor out there is a lot cheaper, things like that. Again, beef is more expensive out there because, but
Hmm.
the labor is the cheap part. But you get exactly what you want. And it's probably more natural. It's all more organic,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good quality.
Yeah, yeah. Well, anything
All
else
right.
you want to talk about, Hero? Want to wrap it up, or then we can
Yeah.
chat?
No, I think wrapping up. We talked about good how to get a good bark. Use good fat. Don't use butter if you don't want to get steamy. Tallow and lard are good depending on what you're using there, and then get a good quality meat. I think that's easier said than done. But yeah, no, I think it was a good chat. And again, we'll put Tony's bean recipe up here for you to watch that, and we'll see you
Yep.
on the next one.
All right. Hey, thank you, Zach. And there you go. Bye,
All right.
everyone. Thanks for joining.